You were not born to be a slave to your mind. You were born to command it. Every battle you face, every storm of emotion that threatens to drown you, every surge of doubt, these are not signs of weakness. They are signals of power waiting to be mastered. Until you learn to control your inner world, the outer world will continue to crush you. Your mind is your master tool. Tame it or be ruled by it. This is the truth no one can outrun. It doesn't matter how gifted you are, how much potential you carry, or how many dreams live inside your chest. If your mind is not under control, none of it matters. A mind left unguarded becomes a battlefield where fear, doubt, laziness, and excuses launch relentless attacks. But a mind that is ruled with strength becomes a fortress. You don't need more motivation, you need more mental command. The most dangerous man or woman is not the one with talent, it's the one who has conquered their own inner chaos. Power doesn't come from noise, power comes from stillness, from certainty, from decision. If you do not tell your mind where to go, it will drag you into darkness. Thought is not passive, it is active. It either builds or it destroys. That is the line you must stand on. Every day, you either feed your mind with focus or starve it with distraction. It does not matter how big your goals are if your attention is scattered, reactive, emotional, and hijacked by every impulse. The undisciplined mind seeks pleasure and comfort. The disciplined mind seeks challenge, structure, clarity, and execution. Most people live their entire lives reacting to problems, reacting to people, reacting to their own emotional storms. That is slavery. Real strength is choosing your thoughts. Real freedom is deciding what you feel. When anger rises, it is easy to scream. When fear creeps in, it is easy to run. But in that space, where you pause, observe, and act with intention, you become untouchable. There is no greatness without emotional discipline. A man who cannot control his temper will ruin his own victories. A woman who cannot quiet her self-doubt will burn her own bridges. Control does not mean suppression. It means direction. It means using emotion as a weapon, not a weakness. Emotion is energy. You can let it explode and destroy, or you can channel it to create. When fear enters, the weak hide. The strong sharpen their awareness. When sadness weighs heavy, the weak sink. The strong rise and transmute the pain into wisdom. You are not here to be ruled by reaction. You are here to rise above it, to choose, to shape your inner world so powerfully that the outer world obeys. You must build a mind that cannot be shaken. And this is done through training. You train the mind like a soldier, like an athlete, like a weapon. Daily, ruthlessly, repetitively. You don't wait until the storm to build your shelter. You prepare every morning, every moment. You begin the day not scrolling, not rushing, but anchoring. In silence, in intention, in visualization. These rituals are not soft. They are the foundation of command. You review your vision. You speak your affirmations. You breathe deeply and calmly. You rehearse strength before the world tries to throw weakness at you. This is not theory. This is war. Control begins when you master the inputs. Guard what you consume. The conversations, the media, the music, the images. Everything you feed your mind either makes you sharper or weaker. People who say it's just entertainment are people who've already lost the war of attention. Nothing is just entertainment. Everything leaves a residue. If you watch chaos, you absorb chaos. If you consume fear, you become it. If you fill your space with nonsense, your mind cannot grow. Create environments that force your growth. Surround yourself with those who demand your excellence. Your future is shaped in silence, in choices, in repetition, not in occasional moments of inspiration. When you feel overwhelmed, it's not life, it's your perception. When you feel stuck, it's not fate. It's your belief system. Everything begins inside. If you can't command your thoughts, you'll be tossed by the winds of the world. Control is not about pretending. It's not about fake positivity. It's about taking full responsibility for what you allow in and what you send out. If you don't feel like it, good. That's your cue to act anyway. Discipline doesn't negotiate with feeling. You move because it is required. You focus because it is necessary. You execute because that is who you've decided to become. And the most powerful truth is this: you are not your mind. You are not your fear. You are not your doubt. You are the master above it. You are the voice that commands. When the chaos speaks, you answer with stillness. When the emotion floods, you stand rooted. You are not here to follow impulses. You are here to conquer them. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you win. Every time you choose patience over reaction, you rise. Every time you endure the pain and stay grounded, you expand. This is the price. This is the path. And only those willing to master their mind will ever taste true power. No one is coming to save you. The world owes you nothing. The storms will come. The betrayals will sting. The road will stretch far longer than expected, but none of it can defeat the one who is unshaken inside. This is your only task. Gain full control of your inner kingdom. The body will follow. The money will come. The respect will grow. But without this foundation, everything collapses. Decide now who is in control. Decide now who rules your world. And never surrender that throne. Emotion is energy. Direct it or be destroyed by its storms. It is neither good nor bad until you give it direction. The fire that burns can also forge. The storm that breaks can also cleanse. What matters is not how much emotion you feel, but whether you rule it or it rules you. Emotion is movement, it is momentum, it is force. But when it lacks focus, it becomes chaos. Uncontrolled, it drowns men in rage, suffocates them in fear, paralyzes them in doubt. But controlled, it builds empires. It creates vision. It fuels revolutions. The man who learns to use emotion without becoming its slave is a man the world cannot stop. You are not meant to escape your emotions. You are meant to ride them like a wave and guide them like a sword. It begins with awareness. The moment you name what you feel, you reclaim control. And in control, you become dangerous in the best way possible. When anger rises, most let it explode. They shout, they blame, they break. But the wise one channels that fury into clarity, into preparation, into fearless action. Anger is not your enemy. Misused anger is. When you feel it fully, but use it like fire to heat the engine of your resolve. Fear is the same. It warns you. It heightens your senses. But fear unchecked becomes the prison of the mind. You must take that fear and walk toward it. You must step inside it and realize the truth. It cannot hold you unless you allow it. Emotion is a tool, but only when you become the hand that holds it. Otherwise, it becomes the hand that drags you. Emotions do not care about your goals. They are primitive. They want safety. They want comfort. They want relief. They do not understand legacy, greatness, or destiny. That is why they must be governed. You do not build something eternal with temporary feelings. You do not chase meaning through mood. The road to mastery is paved in moments when your emotions screamed for escape, but you chose discipline instead. When your chest burned with uncertainty, but you chose to act anyway. When the pressure mounted and you stood calm, firm, and focused. That is power. That is control. That is the difference between those who live life and those who are lived by it. The world is not concerned with how you feel. It will not wait for your sadness to pass. It will not stop because your heart is heavy. You must be the one who continues. You must be the one who turns sorrow into strategy, who turns heartbreak into hunger. The most unstoppable people are not cold-hearted. They are deeply emotional, but their emotions are shaped, trained, disciplined like a blade sharpened over fire. They feel everything and still move forward. That is true strength. Not the absence of emotion, but the guidance of it. Not suppression, but transformation. You do not run from the storm inside you. You ride it until it carries you to the peak. How you respond in emotional moments defines everything. When others panic, you remain still. When others give up, you press forward. When the world becomes loud, you become focused. Your mind must become the dam that channels the river. Your will must become the captain of the storm. You cannot control what emotions rise, but you control what they become. They can become an excuse or they can become a reason. They can drown you or they can drive you. That is your choice. That is your responsibility. No one can master it for you. No one can do your inner work. If you do not discipline your emotion, it will discipline you. The secret is to stop negotiating with weakness. Emotion wants relief. Your mission demands sacrifice. Emotion wants comfort. Your future requires fire. You will not always feel like showing up. You will not always feel strong. That is when it matters most. What you do in the absence of motivation defines your path. This is why the strongest people have rituals. They do not rely on how they feel. They anchor themselves in decisions made in clarity. They wake up and do what must be done, even if every part of them wants to run. That is how emotion is tamed, not by denying it, but by choosing action anyway. You must speak to your emotions like a general speaks to his army. You command them, you use them, you align them with your goal. You say, "You will not shake me, you will serve me." When doubt creeps in, you meet it with preparation. When anxiety rises, you meet it with breath and presence. When rage ignites, you meet it with silence and planning. Do not try to be emotionless. Try to be sovereign. Try to become so aware, so centered, that nothing can sway you off your path. Let your emotion fuel your purpose, not distract from it. Let it push you forward, not pull you apart. There will be days when you want to quit, days when the weight of your feelings threatens to bury you. On those days, remember this: emotion is temporary, but legacy is forever. Pain fades, but discipline remains. Every time you overcome what you feel to stay aligned with what you believe, you evolve. Every time you rise instead of retreat, you become more. The goal is not perfection, it is mastery. Mastery is born in moments of choice. And choice becomes easier when you know who you are. So build an identity stronger than your storms. Become the kind of person who uses emotion as a signal, never as a sentence. Become the kind of soul who rides chaos like a wave and commands their spirit like a king. That is how you rise above the flood and walk untouched through fire. That is how you stop being ruled and begin to rule. Discipline your inner world and the outer world obeys. Everything you seek, control, power, clarity, respect, it all begins inside. You can chase success for years and still remain in chains if your mind is scattered, if your habits are weak, if your emotions run the show. True discipline is not about restriction, it's about alignment. It's the act of forcing your desires, your fears, your impulses into harmony with your higher purpose. The man who has mastered his own mind does not need to beg the world to respect him. He walks in silence, and the world rearranges itself in response to his presence. He does not chase approval. He commands attention through inner gravity. It is not arrogance, it is certainty. And certainty comes only from disciplined repetition and ruthless control of the self. Nothing in the external world holds lasting power until the internal is conquered. People think they need better circumstances. They think they need more time, more money, more opportunities. But those are byproducts. The source is discipline. Without it, opportunity is wasted. Without it, money is mismanaged. Without it, time becomes sand between your fingers. The one who commands the inner battlefield is the one who wins every war, even if the war never reaches the public eye. Discipline is not about living without emotion. It's about not letting emotion dictate the mission. You wake up tired, the mission remains. You feel afraid, the mission remains. You feel misunderstood, the mission remains. Those who obey every mood they feel remain slaves to circumstance, but those who obey a greater purpose become rulers of their reality. You must build an internal code stronger than any temptation. You must craft a mind that obeys your command, not your comfort. That's what discipline is, obedience to your future self, not your current emotion. Every time you delay gratification, every time you resist the easy option, every time you rise when it would be easier to rest, you prove that you are no longer ruled by the lesser version of you. The world obeys those who obey themselves first. Chaos cannot dominate the man who has ordered his life from the inside out. The storms may shake the ground, but they will never shake the one who stands rooted in personal discipline. There is nothing glamorous about discipline. It's invisible. It's repetitive. It's dull to those who don't understand it. But it is the foundation of all greatness. Discipline is making the right choice when no one is watching. It's showing up when there is no applause. It's giving your full effort when the reward is far off in the distance. Weak minds search for motivation. Strong minds are fueled by discipline. It becomes who you are. It's no longer an act. It's a state of being. You don't decide every day if you'll do the work. You've already decided once, and now the decision carries you. Structure sets you free. It may feel like control in the beginning, but in time it becomes liberation. When your day is designed with discipline, there's no space for distractions to creep in. When your habits are forged with purpose, laziness has no room to live. The undisciplined man is always at war with himself. The disciplined man is at peace, even in chaos, because his steps are chosen, not reactive, because his energy is focused, not drained, because his purpose is active, not postponed. Without discipline, dreams rot. With discipline, even the smallest seed grows into unshakable results. Discipline is not just about action. It is about identity. You are not trying to become disciplined. You must be disciplined. You must embody it in how you walk, how you speak, how you think. The words you allow in your mind, the environment you place yourself in, the standards you enforce even when it hurts, all of this is discipline in motion. And when your discipline becomes identity, you stop needing to convince yourself. You stop battling yourself every morning. It becomes natural, inevitable, non-negotiable. That's when the world begins to shift. That's when people begin to respect you before you even open your mouth. That's when your presence becomes undeniable. The man who cannot control himself will be controlled by everything around him. He will react instead of create. He will panic instead of plan. He will fall apart instead of rising under pressure. But the one who lives with inner discipline builds a fortress no chaos can touch. He is not thrown off by rejection. He is not broken by delay. He does not chase validation. His worth is self-sourced, carved from every early morning, every difficult choice, every refusal to quit when quitting would have been easy. Discipline is earned in the dark and revealed in the light. You must understand this truth deeply. There is no external success without internal order. The mess in your life is a mirror of the mess in your mind. And clarity, power, and respect are all born in the fire of personal accountability. You will be tested. You will be tempted. You will be pulled toward the easy road. But the disciplined refuse to bow. They hold the line. They keep building. And they keep rising, not because it's easy, but because it is required. Discipline is not what you do when you feel like it. It's what you do because nothing else matters more than what you're building. No one will hand you peace. No one will hand you focus. No one will hand you mastery. These are not given. They are claimed. And they are claimed through the practice of inner discipline every single day, without permission, without recognition, without the need to be carried. Build the world inside you and the world around you will bend. Become the one who moves with command. Become the one who rises regardless. Because when you discipline your inner world, the outer world has no choice but to obey. Your thoughts are seeds. Plant only what you wish to harvest. Every idea, every belief, every silent whisper in your mind shapes the reality that follows. This is not philosophy. This is law. What you think repeatedly becomes what you expect. What you expect becomes what you pursue. What you pursue shapes your behavior, and what you do consistently becomes the life you build. Most people walk around watering weeds, then wonder why their life is a garden of regret. They speak of what they fear, dwell on what they lack, repeat what others told them they can't do, and they act shocked when the fruits of their life are bitter. But you are not most people. You know the mind does not work in silence. It works in instruction. Whatever command you give it, it will follow. The question is, are you planting fear or faith, doubt or determination, weakness or will? You cannot afford to entertain thoughts that work against you. Every time you say, I can't, your subconscious listens. Every time you replay failure, your nervous system prepares for more of it. Every time you allow negativity to take root, you set the stage for emotional chaos. Thought is the beginning of all creation. Nothing becomes real until it is first imagined, spoken, believed. You do not need better luck. You need better thinking. You need thoughts that align with the vision you say you want. If your thoughts are poison, don't expect your actions to give you life. What you hold in your mind, you will eventually hold in your hands. But if your thoughts are undisciplined, your life will reflect confusion. If your thoughts are deliberate, your results will reflect order. This is why your mental diet is more important than anything you eat. You can train your body, you can work 16-hour days, you can read 100 books, but if the seeds in your mind are corrupted by fear, jealousy, distraction, or entitlement, nothing you do will last. You must become the guardian of your mental garden, ruthless, vigilant, relentless. When a negative thought enters, question it. When self-doubt whispers, silence it. When fear tries to wrap itself around your goals, tear it out by the root. Do not wait. Do not negotiate. The longer you let it stay, the deeper it burrows into your identity, and what you tolerate will multiply. Thought is not passive, it is reproductive. One thought becomes 10, 10 become a mindset, and a mindset becomes a destiny. If you desire strength, you must think like a builder. If you desire peace, you must think like a monk. If you desire success, you must think like a creator. Your outer life is not controlled by chance. It is a mirror of your internal choices. People spend years trying to fix their circumstances without ever changing the seeds they sow every day. They complain about the harvest but refuse to touch the soil. They chase motivation but never uproot the thinking patterns that produce the very failure they fear. You don't need more motivation. You need mental purification. You need to burn the beliefs that betray you. You need to destroy the thoughts that sabotage you from the inside out. This power is yours. It always has been. But you must stop giving attention to what weakens you. The human mind is fertile. It will grow whatever you feed it, whether roses or thorns. The universe does not judge the quality of your thoughts. It simply reflects them. If you think in defeat, you will walk in defeat. If you think in excellence, you will carry yourself like a leader. If you think in limitation, you will never see the door even when it's wide open. Thought is the cause. Life is the effect. You cannot escape this truth. You can only choose whether you live it consciously or become a prisoner of your own unconscious patterns. Every morning is a chance to plant again. Every moment of silence is a chance to reset. You don't need to wait for a perfect season. You need to start where you are. Replace I can't with I must. Replace it's hard with it's worth it. Replace what if I fail with what if I fly. Train yourself to think in terms of action, in terms of value, in terms of possibility, and train until it's no longer a game of pretending. It becomes who you are. The repetition of power thoughts builds mental muscle. The removal of weak thoughts clears the path for clarity. And clarity produces speed. When the mind is clean, the road becomes visible. Guard your inner world like your life depends on it, because it does. Every limitation you accept begins with a thought. Every breakthrough you experience begins with one, too. You are one decision away from planting something greater, something unstoppable. But you must stop entertaining weeds and start choosing seeds. Or choose thoughts that match the future you want to live in. Choose words that pull you towards strength. Choose beliefs that demand evolution. Do not expect results from a mind that betrays you in silence. Make your thinking your strongest ally. Make your focus your greatest weapon. Make your inner world so powerful that the outer world has no choice but to bend in obedience. You will not always feel ready, but the seeds don't ask for perfect weather. They ask for soil, for sunlight, for daily care. Show up to your mind like it's your most sacred responsibility, because it is. Everything flows from it. Every goal, every relationship, every act of courage. Nothing grows without a seed, and no seed grows without intention. You must be intentional with every thought you allow. Be intentional with every image you imagine. Be intentional with the story you repeat when no one is listening. Because the story you tell yourself becomes the life you live. Plant with purpose and harvest with pride. Silence is strength. Those who pause conquer impulse. In a world obsessed with noise, with reaction, with constant stimulation, silence becomes a rare weapon. It is in silence that true power is formed, because silence is not the absence of action. It is the presence of control. When you pause, you create space between emotion and decision, between impulse and intention. In that space, transformation is possible. The weak react, the powerful observe, the average are triggered, the disciplined respond. You do not become strong by doing more, by saying more, by proving more. You become strong by mastering the art of restraint. The one who can stay silent when provoked, who can wait when rushed, who can reflect when pushed, carries a level of command that words cannot imitate. Silence is where self-possession is built. In silence, you hear the whispers that panic drowns out. You notice the patterns that noise disguises. You see the truth that ego tries to hide. Silence is not passive, it is deeply active. It is the decision to hold your ground when every nerve inside you wants to react. It is choosing not to be ruled by the moment. It is seeing further than emotion allows. Most people cannot sit with silence because silence reveals. It brings everything you've buried to the surface. But if you are willing to face yourself in that stillness, you gain access to levels of strength that comfort can never offer. Impulse is the enemy of progress. It is the voice that says quit, react, indulge, prove, fight, flee. It ruins relationships. It burns opportunities. It delays purpose. But the one who pauses, who breathes, who waits long enough for wisdom to speak, escapes the trap that has destroyed millions. Those who lose their temper lose their position. Those who speak too fast expose their weakness. Those who act without thinking bury themselves in regret. Power belongs to those who can delay gratification, delay reaction, delay the need to be heard or seen. The longer you can hold that pause, the more control you own. The world respects the person who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't react to insult, who doesn't chase approval, who doesn't need to win every argument. That person carries a mysterious force, because their power does not come from volume, it comes from presence. Silence is where you recalibrate. It's where you hear your true voice beneath the noise of emotion. When you train yourself to pause before you speak, before you post, before you argue, you train yourself to rule your life. You teach your mind to obey your purpose, not your mood. You do not let your feelings direct your future. You do not let temporary emotions burn permanent bridges. There is an ancient wisdom in waiting. The longer you can observe without acting, the clearer the path becomes. Silence sharpens your perception. When you stop rushing to fill space with words, you start to notice everything. People's intentions, your own habits, the real reason behind your fear. The strength to be silent when others panic is not weakness. It is leadership. It is discipline. It is the quiet defiance that says, I am not at the mercy of this moment. I choose. I decide. I move with purpose, not pressure. To conquer impulse is to conquer the self, and to conquer the self is to unlock everything. You cannot buy this control. You cannot borrow it. It is earned through daily decision. Each time you pause, you get stronger. Each time you resist the need to react, you build deeper self-respect. Each time you walk away from the chaos without a word, you solidify your power. The world is full of noise because noise distracts from truth. But the ones who build in silence, who heal in silence, who move in silence, become undeniable. They grow while others complain. They reflect while others blame. They study while others perform. And when they act, their actions carry force. When you live from impulse, you give your power to the world. Every comment, every crisis, every little disturbance becomes your master. But when you train your mind to pause, to breathe, to center, the world no longer pulls you around. You walk your path. You protect your peace. You choose your time. Even in war, the most deadly weapon is patience. The warrior who waits, watches, plans, strikes with purpose, and leaves nothing to chance. That is how you must move. Deliberate, clear, quiet, controlled. The world screams, let it. You don't need to match its noise. You need only to master your own voice. Silence is not weakness, it is control. It is knowing that not every opinion deserves your energy, not every battle deserves your sword, not every emotion deserves your reaction. It is remembering that your mission is too important to be distracted by drama. Your destiny is too large to be shaken by fools. When you pause, you reclaim time, you reclaim focus, you reclaim dignity. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself, the moment you stop reacting to everything, you create room for power to grow. You stop being a puppet pulled by emotion and become the master of your space. Do not fear silence. Learn to sit in it. Learn to breathe in it. Learn to wait in it. Let it become your strength. Let it become the fire that forges your command. There is no legacy built on impulse. There is no greatness born out of noise. The greatest builders, the most powerful thinkers, the strongest warriors, they all understood one truth. Silence is the chamber where vision is born, and those who pause long enough to listen to that vision are the ones who reshape the world. In silence, you meet yourself. In silence, you remember who you are. In silence, you choose how the next chapter will unfold. Repetition creates mastery. Train the mind daily or lose it to chaos. There is no greatness without consistency. There is no strength without routine. What you do once means nothing. What you do every single day becomes who you are. Mastery is not achieved in moments of intensity. It is forged in hours of discipline, in the quiet drills no one sees, in the rituals that shape identity before success ever arrives. If you fail to train the mind, the world will do it for you, and the world does not train you to win. It trains you to obey, to react, to depend, to hesitate, to conform. The mind is a tool, but without daily sharpening it rusts. Without structure it wanders. Without practice it becomes a weapon against you instead of a force for you. The untrained mind is a slave to impulse, a victim to distraction, and a playground for fear. It jumps from thought to thought, from fear to fantasy, from goal to excuse. It lives in chaos because it has never been taught control. You cannot expect focus when your mind has only known disorder. You cannot expect strength when your thoughts are conditioned for weakness. You must train your mind like a soldier trains for war, daily, deliberately, relentlessly. And training is not a one-time event, it is a way of life. Just as the body decays when you stop moving, the mind declines when you stop teaching it who is in command. If you do not give it a mission, it will find its own, and that mission will always be survival, not greatness. You cannot think your way to excellence. You must train your way into it. Every repetition is a declaration. Every time you return to the discipline, you rewrite your identity. Most people look for variety. They want stimulation. But those who rise above the rest don't chase novelty. They embrace repetition. They understand that mastery lives in the mundane. It lives in the sharpening of the same blade over and over until it slices through resistance with ease. The world sees the performance. Mastery is what happens before the performance. It's the early mornings, the uncelebrated practice, the mental drills done in silence, the repetition of power thoughts, the reviewing of goals, the sharpening of self-belief. Day after day, thought after thought, until doubt no longer finds room to live. Repetition builds pathways, thought pathways, identity pathways, behavioral pathways. Every time you repeat a thought, you carve a deeper groove in the mind. That groove becomes a highway, and soon it's no longer effort, it's instinct. That is where real power is born. When right thinking becomes your default, or when right action becomes automatic, when strength is no longer something you summon, it's something you are. But you don't get there without repetition. And the price of inconsistency is chaos. A chaotic life is a reflection of a chaotic mind, and a chaotic mind is the consequence of undisciplined repetition. Whatever you repeat, you become. The only question is, are you repeating weakness or power? Do not underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. They seem meaningless in the moment, but over time they build momentum, and momentum builds belief. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you add weight to your identity. Each time you do what you said you'd do, even when no one is watching, you become more solid, more certain, more unshakable. That is how champions are built. Not in public, in private, not by motivation. By repetition, motivation fades, emotion fades, but repetition remains. It is the drumbeat of discipline, the rhythm of excellence, the heartbeat of transformation. You cannot control everything, but you can control what you repeat. You can control the thoughts you speak into the mirror every morning. You can control the vision you rehearse in your mind. You can control the habits that define your day. This is the path. Train the mind and the body follows. Train the mind and emotion aligns. Train the mind and resistance loses its power. You must choose to show up for yourself daily, not when you feel like it, but because you must, because the mission demands it, because the dream you carry is too great to be left to chance. And there will be days when you are tired, days when nothing seems to move, days when your mind screams for escape. Those are the days that count the most. Because every time you train when it's hard, you teach your mind who's in charge. You say to the weakness, you don't get to decide. You say to the fear, you have no power here. You rise anyway. You work anyway. You repeat anyway. Not because it's easy, but because that's what mastery requires. You don't negotiate with excuses. You don't argue with comfort. You return to the discipline like a warrior returns to battle. Without question, without pause, without surrender. Your rituals shape your reality. Repetition is the architect of all lasting change. There is no magic, no shortcut, no hidden door. There is only the repeated decision to train your mind, to align your thoughts with your purpose, to act in accordance with your highest standard, until your standard becomes your nature. And when that happens, you no longer force yourself to be great. You simply are. Not because you were born with more, but because you did more. More consistently, more relentlessly, more intentionally. If you do not choose your repetitions, your environment will choose them for you. If you do not program your mind, someone else will. This is not a maybe. This is a law. And every day that passes without conscious repetition is a day lost to unconscious programming. But every day you rise and train, every day you show up for the mental work, you take back territory, you reclaim your mind, you shape your destiny. Repetition is not about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about making power your pattern. It's about becoming so familiar with discipline that chaos can no longer touch you. It's about turning the mind into a weapon so sharp, so certain that nothing can dull its edge. Train daily or lose everything to disorder. There is no in-between. Environment shapes thought. Choose what you feed your senses wisely. Your surroundings are not neutral. They are forces, either sharpening your mind or dulling it. Everything you hear, see, touch, and experience is programming your subconscious. Every word you let enter your ears is either reinforcing your purpose or poisoning it. Every person around you is either building your vision or breaking it. The environment is not passive, it is a sculptor, and your mind is the clay. If you sit in darkness long enough, you start to forget the existence of light. If you entertain mediocrity long enough, excellence begins to feel excessive. If you surround yourself with fear, your mind will eventually submit. You cannot afford to be casual about your environment. It is a silent, invisible influence that operates around the clock, reshaping your thoughts, rewiring your focus, and redefining your limits without asking your permission. The mind absorbs what the senses consume. If your ears are filled with gossip, complaints, and distractions, you train your mind to expect low energy, low frequency, and low results. If your eyes are constantly flooded with noise, social media, chaos, visual pollution, you teach your brain to crave stimulation and reject silence. Silence is where power lives, but most cannot access it because they've been conditioned to fear stillness. Your senses are gateways. Guard them like treasure, because they are. What you let in becomes what you think, and what you think becomes who you are. You become the music you hear, the conversations you allow, the images you tolerate, the energy you entertain. Guard it all, ruthlessly. Most people underestimate the impact of their physical and mental surroundings. They chase motivation but sleep in disorder. They want clarity but live in noise. They seek success but feed their minds garbage. You cannot outthink your environment. Eventually it wins. It becomes your ceiling. It defines what you believe is normal. Look around. If mediocrity is the standard, your mind will slowly adopt it as the limit. You may dream of greatness, but your environment will crush that dream unless it supports it. There's a reason elite minds isolate themselves from the masses. They understand that greatness is fragile in the wrong surroundings. You must build an environment that fuels your discipline, elevates your focus, and forces your standard upward. The energy in a room speaks louder than words. Pay attention. The people you surround yourself with are either anchors or engines. Some drain you, some drive you. Some talk about people, others talk about ideas. Some validate your excuses, others challenge your weakness. You must decide who you let into your atmosphere. It is not about arrogance. It is about alignment. Protect your space like you protect your purpose. If someone weakens your clarity, they are a liability. If someone distracts your drive, they are a delay. Every second spent with the wrong energy costs you momentum, and momentum is life. It is the invisible currency of every transformation. Don't waste it. You must curate your environment like a master craftsman curates tools. Your room, your desk, your daily spaces. They must breathe clarity, remove clutter, remove noise, remove things that pull you back into the old self. Replace them with reminders of where you're going, not where you've been. Every item in your environment should serve your future. You are not decorating a space, you are designing a battlefield. This is the war for your focus. This is the fight for your highest potential. And in this war, even one weak link, one voice, one toxic influence, one distraction can cost you everything. Be relentless. Purge what weakens. Keep only what sharpens. Your digital environment matters just as much. What you scroll is what you feed your mind. Every image, every video, every word, it's all programming you. The more you consume low-value content, the harder it becomes to build high-value thinking. The mind can't operate at full power when it's weighed down by useless information. Set rules for yourself. Choose your inputs with surgical precision. Follow only what strengthens your belief, your focus, your purpose. Unfollow everything else. The algorithm of your life is based on what you feed it. Starve distractions. Feed the mission. If you don't filter your feed, your future gets filtered for you and not in your favor. You must become an architect of influence. Don't wait for the world to create the right conditions. Create them yourself. Build a routine that reinforces power. Create a space that whispers discipline, even in silence. Surround yourself with words, sounds, people, and energy that echo your future, not your fears. Make it impossible to forget your mission. Let the walls speak it. Let the air carry it. Let everything around you conspire in your favor. Most never do this. They stay reactive. They let others shape their world and then wonder why they feel weak. Take that power back. Environment is your silent coach. Make it elite. No one stumbles into greatness. They structure their life to demand it. And structure begins with environment, where you wake up, who you speak to, what you hear, what you read, what surrounds your eyes when you're tired. These things matter more than you know. They either anchor your progress or accelerate it. And over time, the compound effect of environment becomes undeniable. One weak input repeated daily becomes a mindset. One strong input repeated daily becomes transformation. The question is not, is it affecting me? The question is, how much am I allowing it to control me? Because everything you permit becomes part of your internal reality. Greatness doesn't come from willpower alone. It comes from setting up your life so that willpower is rarely needed. It comes from removing friction, reducing temptation, and building an atmosphere that makes discipline the path of least resistance. You can fight your surroundings, or you can shape them. One drains your energy. The other multiplies it. You decide. Either you master your environment, or it masters you. And if you want to rise above, to stay locked into a higher frequency, to maintain momentum when others quit, you must engineer the space that allows your mind to breathe fire. You can build that. You can live in that. Or you can live in the chaos the world built for you. But you cannot do both. Choose the environment that reflects your destiny, then never let it go. Nothing changes until you do. Control begins with brutal self-honesty. The mirror does not lie, but most men refuse to look long enough to see what it reflects. They flinch. They cover the truth with noise, distraction, excuses, and empty affirmations. But the path to true control starts with a confrontation. The kind that happens in silence, away from the world, when there's no one left to impress and no one to blame. You must strip away the layers and look at who you really are, not who you pretend to be, not who you post online, who you are in weakness, who you are in secret, who you are when no one is watching. This truth, however painful, is the beginning of all power. Because if you lie to yourself, you surrender the only weapon that can change your life, awareness. The weak hide from their flaws, the strong expose them. You can't fix what you refuse to face. You can't sharpen what you deny is dull. Most people pray for results while protecting the very behaviors that sabotage them. They repeat cycles and blame the world for spinning. They scream about circumstances without seeing their own hand on the wheel. Nothing external can save you until you've declared war on the internal lies. Brutal self-honesty is not cruelty. It is clarity, and clarity is rare. But it is the birthplace of transformation. You must be willing to say, I am the problem, if you ever want the right to say, I am the solution. Responsibility is not a burden. It is freedom. The moment you take full ownership of your thoughts, emotions, patterns, and outcomes, you take back your power. You are not a puppet to mood swings or a victim of the past. You are not broken. You are untrained. And training begins with truth. If your emotions control you, it's not because you're weak. It's because you've allowed undisciplined thoughts to shape undisciplined reactions. And reactions repeated become identity. Identity repeated becomes reality. This chain must be broken at its root, and the root is always internal. You must study your patterns with the precision of a general studying his enemy. What triggers your weakness? What seduces your attention? What lies do you whisper to justify quitting? Expose it all. Self-honesty demands silence. It requires space between impulse and reaction. That space is where mastery lives. If you can pause long enough to observe your default responses, you can rewire them, but most never pause. They live in reflex. They're ruled by their lowest habits and their oldest stories. To change that, you must sit with yourself, no noise, no distractions, and interrogate your defaults. Why do I choose comfort over growth? Why do I chase approval instead of purpose? Why do I fear stillness? Every question you answer honestly is a door. Most never open them. They fear what they'll find, but your future is locked behind those doors, and self-deception is the keyhole that keeps it shut. You don't need motivation. You need accuracy. You need a clear, unfiltered view of what you've been avoiding. Motivation fades. Truth stays. And truth stings before it sets you free. The mind will try to protect your ego at the cost of your evolution. You must override that. You must build the muscle of inner confrontation daily. Ask yourself, where am I lying? Where am I pretending? Where am I hiding behind habits that no longer serve me? Don't soften the answers. The truth must be hard if it's going to sharpen you. Delusion is a comfortable coffin. Many lie down in it with a smile. But if you want life, real life, you must fight to stay awake. Discipline without self-honesty is performance. It's a show. It might impress others, but it will never impress your potential. Your potential sees through all your noise. It doesn't care about how many books you read, how early you wake up, how loudly you preach. It only responds to action aligned with truth. If you say you want change but continue to feed your distractions, your potential will not move. It waits for integrity. And integrity begins when your inner dialogue matches your outer pursuit. That is why self-honesty is rare, because it forces you to admit where you're not yet congruent. But once you do, you unlock a new standard. And when your standard changes, everything else follows. You must become your own judge and your own liberator. No one is coming to expose your excuses. No one is coming to pull you from your patterns. That is your work. That is your battlefield. And it is won or lost in the silence of your mind. The world will offer you distraction, validation, and escape. But only truth brings direction. And once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. Your patterns become obvious.